course, every morning, hello tree, hi tree, hello tree. And of course I heard nothing. Of course you start getting frustrated after a few. And I did, of course, because I'm human. And 6 months down the road, I looked at the tree and I kind of did one of these and I'm like, okay, I know you hear me. Is it that you're ignoring me, you're not talking to me, or I really can't hear you? Okay. So a year after that, I was heading out to work and I said, good morning tree, without giving it a second thought. And of course I heard it say, good morning child. I am with you. I dropped everything. I turned around, I went back into the house, I knocked on the door, I'm already in tears. My husband opens the door, he was like, did you fall? Because my joints do give up from time to time and I end up on the floor. And I was like, no, the tree. And he's just looking at me like, are you serious right now? And I'm like, yes, I'm serious right now. I heard it speak to me. And I always had this thing with trees. Most empaths do. We charge up with trees. We know how sacred trees are. Their roots are embedded into mother, and your limbs are out into the heavens. And just like any of us, when we're uprooted from this planet, what happens? Right? The plant people, the tree people, different evolutions, or I should say, different vibrations. And as a child, my mom had this thing that the Saturday after Thanksgiving, she will cut her tree. I was that child that never wanted to go. And of course, I was at an age where I didn't have a choice, and I had to go. So of course, I would look at all these trees, and this is when I was a child, mind you, so and I knew my mom. So of course, you do this years and years and years on end, and of course, it came to a point where I was an adult, and my husband joined our family, and that was my first year my husband was doing it, and I know my mom. So she would, every tree that she would go, she would look at a tree. Oh, look how beautiful this is. And then she'll go for 2.5 hours through every hill, lump, hole, weed, whatever she found, her asthma pump times 2. And she will come back and cut that first tree. So I knew her. So when I went the first year with my husband was excited. But this was not our tree we were cutting. I always had a fake tree. This is my fake tree. I love my fake tree. It has lights. I'm good. And so we went. We're bundled up, mind you. It's cold. My mom goes. My husband's excited. He's like, oh, we're going. And my mom goes, huh. I like that tree. And I looked at her and said, huh. And I sat right down. Meanwhile, my husband's like, what are you doing? I said, go ahead, go have a great time with her. Great time. Done this all my life. So he goes huffing and puffing, 2 acres later, 3 acres back. I like that tree. The one I sat next to. And my husband goes, you knew. Did you have fun? He goes, yeah. Him and his red nose because he was frozen. Right? But I never understood why, even as a child, I knew those trees were sacred. I just had no understanding of why or how. So I always had a fake tree. 15 years later into it, fake tree, and my husband goes to me one year, he goes, I want a real tree this year. Of course I cracked my head up. What? Kid? No, you do not. And he's like, yeah, why not? I mean, I've never had a real tree. I've always wanted one. I said, no, mijo, no. And he goes, I promise we don't have to walk 3 acres around the whole acreage of trees to find one. I said, no. So I was set on no. So he respected that. A few years later, he brings it up again. And I told my kids this year, so Papa used to work second shift at that time, and I told my kids, I said, let's go get a tree. We're going to surprise Papa this year. And they looked at me like, what? You, a real tree? And my kids asked me, Mom, what is your thing with real trees? I said, well, think about it. We take this beautiful creature, we de-root it, we basically take its lifeline, we bring it into our house, we make it look like whatever we want it to look like. Right? Whatever ridiculousness. I know what my mother made her look like. Hers looked like the dollar store. Because you couldn't see the green in the tree. There was so many ornaments on it. And the cat would knock it over. It was just a whole fiasco every year. And I said, you know, and then we get rid of them and we just toss them in the street. We toss them everywhere. We don't even pay it enough respect that we made that tree look like whatever we wanted it to look like. And just toss it like it gave us absolutely nothing. I got a problem with that. We don't say thank you. We don't ask, can I cut you? We don't. Ever since I started listening to trees, it's been such a game changer. I heard one tree once say, do you let people cut your hair without asking? And I said, no. So why do you guys do that to us? I said, and that was the last time I did yard work without asking first. Because it's true, we will go and it's like cutting off one of our ears without thinking. Well, that was, I stopped there where I had a Rottweiler that had a tail. My pit has ears. I refuse to, no, absolutely not. And they were like, well, what makes you change this time? I was like, well, when you're in a relationship, there's compromising. And your dad has been begging for a tree. So I'm going to meet him halfway this year. So let's do this together, kids. Let's give him something. Because it's not about always me. Right? Let's do this. Let's meet halfway somewhere. Okay. So our kids got in the car and we left. Now, I was not going to go through walking acres of, absolutely not. So guess where we went? Lowe's. And you know, in Lowe's they keep them outside, you know, in those bins, right? And my kids go to me before they get in the car. They're like, Mom, you're not going to start that medium stuff in there, are you? They're like, what? You don't want to think that your mama's crazy or talking to trees? I said, well, you stay with me if you want to. I'm not going to stop who I am or what I be. So therefore, either walk 10 spaces behind if you feel that I'm going to embarrass you, but I'm going to go talk to some trees. Okay? So guess where they were? I was up here. They're all the way down there. Like, come on, kids. Those are my kids. Yeah, they're mine. They're not lost. They're mine. So I went up to one tree. Do you want to come home with me? One giggled, just like that. I was like, yeah, that's a no. Then I went to another tree. I said, do you want to come home with us? I said, ooh, that's really a no. And when I heard that, it was funny because I went. And my daughter was like, that one's not coming home. So she already knew what I heard. And then I heard one a little further out to the corner. I didn't know how big it was, how rung it was, how skinny it was. She goes, child, I'll go home with you. I said, oh. You'll come home with us? I said, yes. I have a mission. And you just might help me complete that mission. I'm already uprooted and cutted, so you might as well. I said, okay. So I told the kids, come on. I already stopped talking to the trees. Help me carry this thing. So of course they helped me carry it. We bought it. We got it in the car. We did the usual. We put it up. And the kids stood up late waiting for Papa to get home, mind you. And I'm looking at this tree, and I'm wondering and contemplating, why in the world? Okay. Okay. So, as I'm putting ornaments up on this tree, I said, you said you had a mission. What would be your mission? Curious. And she goes, you will see. You will see. I will see. Okay. So of course, we put it up, we put it in the corner, and we all waited for Papa to get home, for Jose to get home. As soon as he came home, his response was priceless. When I mean this man had opened the door, he closed it up thinking he was in the wrong house. That's one. Two, he lost it. He dropped his book bag, his broke bag. He just, oh my God, this is, and then he comes to the tree and goes, this is a real tree? He goes, this is a real tree? Yes. You got us a real tree. When I mean that I saw the 5-year-old. I saw the 5-year-old. He cried in front of that tree. And then I heard the tree say, that's what I was waiting for. And I understood that as an empath so wholeheartedly. Because as us as spiritualists, how many times don't we do that? Or the things that we do at work, or the things that we do for others, simply as opening a door. And I didn't understand that until I went through the process of it. I said, okay. So here comes New Year's. She stood in the house January. I took a liking to this tree. Here comes, and mind you, my husband never had a real tree growing up, so I think for him, it was picking up a shard. Remember how I always teach you guys, trauma happens, you go pick up a piece of you where you left. He truly picked up a piece of himself at that tree. So I told the tree, I said, very shortly, I'm going to put you outside. She goes, that's okay. It was a blessing to be in the house with you all. That energy was super beautiful. And it made a difference. Then I've done my job. And it's okay, I came from outside. I returned to outside. I said, fair enough. But I couldn't, at that moment, I just couldn't. So I left her in her stand, and I put her in the corner of my yard, and I said, I want you to stay as long as you like. And I am so thankful and grateful that you taught me that lesson. You gave a gift to my husband, and we taught our children, my earth children, my human children. Thank you. I honor thee. So it was funny. Here comes February, March, April, May. 4th of July came, tree's still alive. And I would go by doing yard work and be like, hey sister, what's happening? Do you believe she made it until September in that stand? I thought very surely I was going to shake the squirrels out of her and put her back in the house for Christmas again. And finally she started to wither and die. And I felt her soul leave. And I have a place all the way in the back of my yard that's really wild. I have much respect to the land that was there before me. So I leave it untouched. And I actually took her off the stand and I put her back there. I laid her down and I actually put flowers over her. Because all things that come into the world and leaves should have the blessing and honor of flowers. And so I teach those things every year that I go around because it does matter, especially if it's alive, regardless if it's human. If it needs water and sun, like we do, it's alive and it has a soul. I don't know who that soul was in that tree. I don't know how that soul will be intertwined with me before and after. What I do know, that we all know, is that if you're in my grasp now, you were there before and you will be after. Treat others as you would want to be treated. I know when it's my time. I really don't care where you throw this device at, but with kindness and with flowers. Because I don't need it where I'm going. And I understood that soul didn't need it. She came to do something very important, and she did. What a blessing that was. Have I heard trees cry? Yes. I was in Waterbury once, and I walked by a tree that was crying. I didn't understand why it was crying, so I stopped for a second, and when I looked up, I had a bag of garbage in the tree, thrown by the building owner. Sobbing, and I was too short. I couldn't get up there to at least pull it down. I couldn't, and I tapped on that tree and I said, I'm sorry. Not all of us can hear you, or understand you, or know you the way I do. Have mercy on my human brothers and sisters. They don't know what they do. And I'm sorry. Because I felt that that's all I could do. Is just acknowledge. So this year, my loves, make sure that if you do have a real tree, that you say thank you to the joy that it brings you, to the joy that what you make it look like. How many things in our lives don't we go through that kind of sounds like that, but it's not a tree? And definitely go outside your comfort zone. Just to think, I would have never came out of my comfort zone, and I would have never learned that valuable, huge lesson. And not only that, the grace of another soul doing that for us, and how much do I do for other souls as well. I leave you that with the kindness of love and the grace of this holiday season. And definitely pass on that word as we go along with things. Have you ever thought about it that way?
It's funny you speak of the trees, and I was walking the dog and I wanted to make something for Christmas for everybody, and I was walking by the trees that I admired, and the item I wanted to create, and it was walking, I found it on the ground, so they were ready to be made, and I had made 33 of them in the basket, and they are a piece of a tree that is ancient and wanted everyone to jingle with. So there is no coincidence. I did not know you were going to speak of that. It's the higher power. So there's a blessing in the basket of exactly what you spoke of. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
I went down to the ferry in Rocky Hill. It's on the river. And there was a huge tree I used to carve under for the last 8 years. pull in, and there's a bulldozer down there, there's a bucket up there, and they're doing this, and I go, and the guy looks at me and he goes, I pulled in and I went over there and I said, I have parked my car under that tree for the last 8 years. He goes, oh, there's bugs in it and all that. So I went home, of course I'm very upset. So I go up on Rocky Hill Farm and I said, oh my God, they cut down the only huge big tree down by the ferry. I got banned. Banned. It says you are not allowed to post. And then I thought to myself, wow, okay, I'm gonna let this go, but I had the last word.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. Look at that storm that knocked down that huge tree. And the tree was knocked over, and in its roots, there was a cemetery where they took off the headstones and knocked the bodies. So when the tree got knocked over, the roots came up with a few bones. That's exactly how I was like, hey.
What goes around comes around, right?
I thought that was, oh, you're taking that? Yeah, I got some gifts for y'all.
So Daiva, a few years ago, right, we had these major storms here, a lot of trees came down. We had 2 tall Scott pines in our backyard, and one of them was split down the middle a bit, still standing but split. They were over 100 feet tall, both of them. The other ones, some of the limbs, 30, 40-foot limbs came off, completely smashed my dog's enclosure, the dog house, everything. So we had to have these trees removed. And my friend that did it is organic person. And so what he did is, because he couldn't reuse the pine wood himself or anything, and you can't burn it inside or anything like that. So he found a guy in Middlefield who actually makes pine furniture. So he took the trees there, the remnants of the trees there, and gave it to this guy so the guy could season them and everything and then make furniture out of them. So I talk to trees all the time. So the trees were like, I was very sad that they had to go, but they were very happy that they were going to have a new life.
Yeah. I love an arborist. An arborist,
Yeah.
like if you're going to have any tree work done, have an arborist do it. Or have an arborist come out and take a look at them, because they will tell you what trees are good
Yep.
and what they're good for, what is not good and what's not healthy, and of course, what is alive and what truly isn't. Not just someone that's going to come, oh yeah, no, not for me. Anyone else has the freedom to do as I wish, as long as ye who harms none, right? But that's a huge...
Well, I just had my oak trees trimmed. And the first time I did it with them, I was like, okay, I sat out there with my guy, and he goes up to trees and touches them and talks to them too. And it's like, so we're like going, okay, tree says that one right there, that limb. And it's like, we're going, okay, this limb over here needs it. And when I talked to them, they said, we don't mind this, it's like a haircut would be for you. So trimming is okay, trimming the dead off, trimming the dangerous things off, they don't mind,
As long as
because you're helping keep them stronger.
Yeah.
But what we did is we picked the ones that felt right to choose.
And with spiritualists, we charge up with trees, especially empaths. If you touch a tree and they like you and you like them, oh, you get some real work done with that tree. Let me tell you, power begins. It will absorb all your negatives, all your bad. They will balance you up. They will give you back. They will bring that energy down to their roots and recycle and bring it back to you whole, wholesome, and like spiritual sexiness, yum yum type of stuff. So, and then you all who work with trees know that in a tree you could feel its roots, and you could feel them as far out underneath your feet. A real good tree, you feel them. So definitely, and if you haven't tried that yet, please do so. Oh, please do so. Enjoy your experience. You'd be surprised at the things that will come of it. All right, Megan, any announcements?